Hey, Evolvers, welcome back to Evolving with Tina. Today's episode is a little different, and honestly, it's long overdue because I realized something as I was trying to figure out what to talk about this week that I've never really actually told you my full story. Not just what I've been through, but why I'm here. So if you've been following my TikTok journey or you've been listening to this podcast for the last few weeks, you've probably heard little bits and pieces of my story, but I wanted to get into everything today because I really feel like if you know what I've been through and where I'm at in my life, that maybe you'll feel not so alone on your journey because I know what it's like when you feel like you're holding it all together on the outside, but literally falling apart on the inside. Like no one really got you and what you're going through, like nobody understands. So, today, I just wanted to share where I've been, not to dwell on the past, but just to help you understand how I got here and what led me to creating this space in the first place. Because I know how lonely it can feel when you're going through something heavy and you don't see yourself in anyone around you. So, if you've ever felt lost or stuck, or maybe just unsure where to start, this episode's for you. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into it. Who am I, anyways? So, my name is Tina Tyler. I'm a mom to three grown boys, a wife, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. But more than any title, I'm a woman who's been through some stuff. The kind of stuff that shakes your identity, that makes you question your worth, that makes you feel like you're caring more than anyone else sees. I've lived through trauma, shame, and depression. I've stayed in relationships I should have walked away from. I've made mistakes I had to forgive myself for, and I've doubted who I was more times than I can even count. There were seasons where I felt like I didn't even recognize the woman in the mirror, but I kept going. I kept showing up. I started doing the work to rebuild my self identity, not just my life, but my relationship with myself. And I'm still doing it day in and day out. I'm not here because I've figured everything out. I'm here because I finally stopped pretending I had to. This space isn't about being perfect, it's about just being real and honest with ourselves. It's about having those conversations with ourselves and with each other with no pressure, no performance, just living in our truth. So, before we get into this episode, it's going to be really heavy in certain parts. So, I just want to give a really quick trigger warning. So, this episode includes mentions of childhood abuse, domestic violence, and I just want you to take care of yourself first. So, if you need to pause or skip ahead at certain parts, I completely understand, but I just wanted to give that trigger warning in advance before we get into everything. So, where to start? Let me just take you back to the beginning, I guess. My mom had me when she was 18. She already had my older brother when she was 16. If you can believe it, she was married by the time she was 16 because she was pregnant with my brother. She was forced to get married. And not long after I was born, my mom and my biological father separated. And my mom met Jake, who is my stepdad, who's been my stepdad since I was like one or two. So he's been a part of my life forever. He works really hard. He made sure we had a roof over our heads, and honestly, I adore him. We didn't grow up with much at all. We were actually probably pretty poor by most standards, but we had the basics, we had the essentials. I remember sugar and butter sandwiches after school. And, we always were told to finish what was on our plates because food wasn't something that we had a lot of. So, we weren't in any sports or clubs because a lot of those things cost money and we just didn't have that. But honestly, my parents did the best they could with what they had. And I appreciate that more now today than I ever did, obviously, when I was younger. Although they gave us what they could, there were still things that were happening behind the scenes that they didn't see. Things I didn't have the words to talk about back then or really even understand it. So, when I was about 5 or 6, something happened that would stay with me for a really long time. I was sexually abused by my uncle. He had mental challenges, and to this day, he's passed on now, but I'm still not 100% sure he fully understood that what he was doing was wrong. So I know I'm not justifying what he did, but I think that just helps me deal with it, knowing that it wasn't something he was doing intentional. But that doesn't change the fact that it obviously left a scar on me and made me feel like my body wasn't mine. Like I didn't have a voice. Like I had to carry the blame for something that I didn't even really understand at the time. And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't talk to my mom about it or my brother or like any of my friends or nothing. I didn't say anything at the time because I really didn't even know what it was. And I thought that it was something that I was doing. So I felt almost like a shame around it. So that silence just kept on, and it changes just the way that you see yourself. So it really did shape me, like how I move through the world, like how I let people treat me and how I saw my worth, or should I say how I didn't see my worth. I never even shared that with my husband until a few years ago when I co authored in a book called She Is Worthy. And I shared my story in that book. And I didn't even share it with my husband at the time. He actually read it after it was published. And he told me that he cried reading my story in there. And he didn't know that that was something that I had gone through. It's still really hard to talk about even now to this day, but the more I talk about it, the easier it gets to express how I felt. I've done a lot of therapy and talked to a lot of people about it, and obviously that does help a lot more. But yeah, it's something that you carry with you, through your life because you internalize it as something that you did wrong. It's like this big shame, this like big shadow that sort of follows you around, especially when you feel like people can just take from you and you don't have a voice to say like no. Yeah, that's really heavy. And I let a lot of that like throughout my life, I let a lot of people take from me and I did a lot of stupid things. And it's because I didn't have any self-worth and I thought that that would give me the validation that I needed. I was looking for that in other people, and it was just so wrong on so many levels. And I had to forgive myself for a lot of things that I did and went through. But yeah, like it is what it is, and I've learned to forgive myself for it, but it is still a little bit hard to just wrap my head around. Even in high school when I first got into my very first serious relationship. And like most girls, you think it's love at the beginning. Like, he says all the right things, he gives me enough attention, it's all those things that you craved, that love. And when you start to get like little crumbs of it, you just eat it all up. But at the very beginning of my first relationship, there was so much like control, jealousy, like emotional abuse, and even physical abuse too, as well. But yeah, I stayed in that relationship for longer than I definitely should have. And if you've never been in something like that, it's easy to ask yourself, like, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just like get out of that relationship? But when you grow up without a strong sense of self worth, when you've been taught directly or indirectly that your voice doesn't matter, you start to believe that pain is like part of love in a way, which is really crazy to say, but it's how you feel at the time. You think that, maybe you caused it. Maybe if you just like would do better or try harder or like love them even more, it would just like go away and things would be better. But yeah, it didn't. It never got better. And eventually I did leave. I did break up with him and we crossed paths like a little while later. And, he said all the right things and bought me flowers, apologized, told me he changed, all that sort of stuff. And I believed him. And we ended up going to go home together. I had my own apartment at the time and we were sitting in a parking lot on a curb, and we had called a cab beforehand. He got me flowers and everything that night. And yeah, I was about to give him another chance, and we were just talking. And all of a sudden, something I said just triggered him, and he went completely off. And he started hitting me over the head with the flowers. He just went like crazy violent, was just hitting me. Thankfully, the cab driver arrived and he called the cops because he noticed obviously what was going on. I was like hysterical at the time and he was chasing me around the cab. And anyways, it was all this crazy, crazy stuff. I really think back to like the cab driver and the fact that he stayed there and didn't leave and just waited until the police arrived. I really do owe him like a lot, because I feel like it could have gotten way worse if he wasn't there and if he didn't call 911 that night. But yeah, so after that was like, I got a restraining order, all that sort of stuff. And I like just shut it all down. And I was like, no, there's just no way. Like, this is enough. But the crazy thing is, I didn't tell anyone. Throughout that whole relationship, there was a lot of things that happened physically, and I kept quiet about it. I just thought that I was doing something wrong and it was my fault. He made me believe that. And even after this happened, I didn't even talk to anybody about it. I mean, I mentioned it to my mom. I talked to my mom about it. But other than that, no, I never mentioned it, which is like the craziest thing, because it was like I was protecting his reputation more than I was like protecting myself. I told myself that it wasn't that bad, and, even felt guilty for like reporting it at the time and stuff like that. But, the crazy thing is, I think I blocked a lot of it out, like what really happened, until like years later. Like, I'm talking like probably like 3-4 years ago now. When I started writing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna see about getting that police report just to like see like what was in it and what was said, because I feel like I blocked a lot of it out and I didn't really know a lot of the details. And when I got the police report, I was just like blown away. I was like, oh my God, this was like way worse than I made it out to be. So yeah, it was just Yeah, it was crazy. And I'm not going to stay silent about it anymore. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that. But I just want people to know, like, if you're listening to this right now or any part of this sounds familiar, just please hear me. It isn't your fault. You don't deserve it. And staying quiet doesn't make you stronger. It just keeps you in pain for even longer. So I would just say speak out, talk to somebody, get the help that you can get, because if you don't, you're just going to regret it later by sitting in the silence. And you just need to try to take your power back as much as you can. And I know that's easier said than done because I was in a same situation and I totally, totally get it. So I had my son when I was 18. So like my mom, how crazy is that? I gave birth to him in early November, and 2 weeks later, I moved out of my parents' house with a newborn baby and no idea what I was doing. I was still just a kid myself, but I was determined to give him better than what I had. And I didn't know how. I just knew that I could figure it out. But eventually, like the pressure caught up with me, the loneliness, the fear, the weight of trying to do it all on my own. And I started partying, drinking, like just trying to escape the heaviness I didn't have the words for at the time. But one morning, I woke up after a night of drinking, and my son wasn't in his bed. He had wandered out of the apartment. I was on the second floor at the time, and while I was passed out drunk, he slipped out the door. He pushed a chair up to the door, unlocked it, and went out. And all he was wearing at the time was a diaper. It was the middle of November, and he got out of that apartment. I still don't know how. We were on the second floor. He had to take the elevator down to the main floor, go out 2 doors that had locks on it. So somebody had to have let him out onto the street. The crazy thing is he had my robe, like the tie thing to my robe, and he had our cat. So the cat was like following him. We actually never got my cat back, but somebody, whoever it was, saw him out on the street and called 911, which was like, oh my God, like by the grace of God, somebody called 911. He was okay, but obviously I wasn't. And that moment, like even just talking about it right now, it crushes me. Like it rips me open in a way that like I'll never forget. Because you feel like, oh my God, you feel like you've failed like as a mom and as a person. And yeah, I'm trying not to cry, but oh my God. Yeah. So I knew at that moment, like that was like my wake up call. It was like one of those moments where like life holds a mirror up at you and says like, hello, like what the fuck are you doing? Like get your shit together. And yeah, something had to change. So I did. I was like straight and narrow. Like I got my shit together. And a few years later, I met my husband Jason, and I wasn't looking for anything at the time. I was just trying to like survive, literally just go through the motions. At the time I was going through hairdressing school and working and like just trying to do everything right. But yeah, he just came into my life and brought something like I hadn't felt in like a really long time, which was like safety. He loved me. He loved Taylor like he was his own. He showed up for us. He was like a steady person in my life. And for the first time, I felt like maybe I didn't have to do everything on my own. We ended up getting married. We built a life together. I had 2 more boys. We had 2 boys together. And even with like all the love and everything around me, I still didn't love myself, which is crazy. And I gained a lot of weight with each pregnancy, like 50, 60 pounds. And I just stopped taking care of myself. And without even realizing it, I had slipped into like a deep, dark depression. I avoided mirrors, I avoided people. I couldn't even let my husband see me undressed, not because of anything he said. He always made me feel beautiful and sexy, literally at any size, which is crazy. But when your own self-worth is tied to your appearance and your body changes, you don't just feel different, you literally feel like invisible. And when you feel invisible, you start disappearing from your own life. And that's exactly what I did. And one of the hardest memories I carry from that time is about a really dear friend of mine, one of my oldest friends from elementary school. She reached out to me one day. She was moving away to like start a new career, and she just wanted to get together before she left. We hadn't seen each other for a little while, but we always kept in touch. We talked, and she knew she was going to leave. She was going to California, and she just wanted to get together beforehand. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But when the day came, when she called me, I didn't answer. I didn't answer her call. I avoided her call because I was too ashamed of how I looked, because I had gained a lot of weight. And I couldn't, I don't know, I couldn't see her at the time because I was so caught up in my own head, which was like the stupidest thing. And a few days later, I got the news that she had passed. On her way there, her mom and her brother, they got into a car accident, and her mom and her passed away, and her brother was in a coma. And I couldn't believe it. I was devastated, like completely heartbroken. She was literally the kindest. She was a gentle person, the type of person who wouldn't have cared like what I look like. She just wanted to say goodbye, and I didn't give her that moment, not because I didn't care, but because I just didn't feel worthy of being seen. And that's such a shallow thing to say, like now, like looking back on it. But the worst part about that whole thing is I didn't even go to their funeral. Like, I couldn't even face the thought of seeing old friends or of them seeing me. Like, like, I'll be honest, that is literally one of my biggest regrets in life, that I let my stupid fucking insecurities keep me from saying goodbye to someone that I loved. Like, I let the shame win. But that's what happens when you let your pain isolate you. It doesn't just steal your happiness, it literally robs you of like the moments that matter the most. And as much as losing my friend broke me emotionally, my body was like breaking too. It's like everything I had been ignoring, the shame, the sadness, the self neglect, like finally everything had caught up with me. And it was just a matter of time before like things just crashed. And that's exactly what happened, because after years of trying to fix myself, I got desperate, and I was so sick of feeling stuck in my body, stuck in my head, stuck in my life, that I did so many things. I literally went to war with myself. I tried every cleanse you could think about, every diet, every intense workout program, anything that promised results or some sort of relief. And one day I pushed way too far. Me and my son, we rode our bike to this CrossFit place. We did CrossFit. We rode our bike home. Like, I did this for like 3 days, and I was like exhausted. And I noticed like one of my girlfriends came over and she's like, I read this article. It was about like rhabdomyolysis. And it's when like, people, your kidneys start shutting down or something by doing CrossFit. And I was like, oh my God, like, no, no, no. Like that's, and then one of the symptoms was like your urine was like really dark and you had like flank pain and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, like I was starting to feel that. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to like maybe just go down to the emergency and just get checked out. And so I went down there to the ER and they literally admitted me like right away. And they said that my kidneys were shutting down. So I have a condition called IgA nephropathy, which is like basically my kidneys don't filter correctly. And at the moment they said that I did have that rhabdomyolysis that she was talking about, and the stress that I had been putting on my body, like physically, emotionally, mentally, was like way too much. And what was happening was my muscle tissue was breaking down, and they were afraid that it would get like lodged in my kidneys because my kidneys don't filter correctly like normal people's do. So they were afraid that the tissues would just build up and cause total kidney failure. So they hooked me up on IVs and I ended up being in the hospital for like 9 days. I was swollen. I was hooked up to all these machines, and my husband brought the boys in to come for a visit. And oh my God, when they turned the corner and they came in and I was lying there and I could just see their faces. Like, they were so scared. Oh my God. And it crushed me so much. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing to myself? And it just broke me because in that moment I realized this wasn't about a fucking diet or a number on a scale or like fitting into old jeans. This was my fucking life here. And what am I doing? Like, I need to get shit together because if I didn't stop doing this to myself, I was literally going to like die or something. I don't know. I was just like, enough is enough. So that hospital like stay, it rocked me, but it was the beginning of something new. So I knew I had to force myself to like just start like walking slowly, just face my truth and just stop hiding behind like excuses and finally start healing. So I would say though that hospital stay changed everything because it didn't magically fix obviously my life, but it made me look at it way differently. Like, it forced me to get honest with myself, and I slowed down. I enrolled myself into some therapy. I started journaling. I read a ton of like self-help books just to understand myself better. Books about trauma, books about like, sexual assault, books about, all the stuff that I had been through. And yeah, I just started going through the process of trying to like gain my life back. And as I was going through the process, I was sharing more and talking about it a lot more. One of my friends reached out on Instagram and she was like, hey, like I am one of the editors in this book. It's going to be called like She Is Worthy. And we're just getting a bunch of women who have gone through things to share their story. And she said like, hey, would you be willing to write, like to share your story? And I was like at the time thinking, oh my God, I don't have anything to like share or write about. Like I'm a dropout. I dropped out of high school. Like, who'd want to hear anything that I have to say? But she was like, no, oh my God, Tina, like I believe in you. And eventually I started to believe in myself too. And she was just like, you know what, just sit down, start writing. Like, everybody has a story. So I did. I sat down and she just said, just keep writing, writing, writing. And I did. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And it was almost like a relief. Like, it was like therapeutic. It was like so healing too. And it helped me see my story like differently. And not just as like the pain that I went through, but like as something that was like powerful, that it reminded me like my story did matter. And even like the messy, crazy like parts to it, the things that I regret most and all that stuff, because, those pieces they've shaped me into the woman that I am today. And I know that's corny to say that, but that's exactly what it did. And I literally just started healing from like the inside out. Whereas before, I was so focused on my outer appearance that I wasn't even thinking that there was a connection there, which is like the craziest thing because it started from inside. And I remember at one point I was like at my heaviest weight, and I just like it just flew over me, and it was like I finally like got this confidence, and it was just like I woke up, like it was like like what the fuck have you been doing? Like, and I finally just woke up because I just felt like I was at peace with myself. And I knew that obviously I wanted to lose weight and everything else, but I wanted to lose weight for my health, not for like the appearance and all that sort of stuff. And I remember like talking to my doctor at the time and my kidney specialist. And I was like, oh, like, I had gone to this bariatric thing with my mom before. And I was like, that's just not for me. Like, I'm not going to do that because I was like one of those people that was like, oh my God, like that's just like the easy way out, blah, blah, blah. But that's because I didn't know. I didn't understand it. I didn't know anything about it. So I started getting into it and reading a lot about it and talking to my doctors, and both my family doctor and my kidney specialist were like, hey, like this is probably a good thing for you. Like this would help. It would lower your blood pressure. It could even help with your kidney filtration because you would have like less fat, blah, 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 that sort of stuff. Like this is probably something that you should really like consider and look into because it would, it would help. And I was like, oh, okay. So I looked into it a lot more, and I I went through the process. I remember it was like just after my birthday, and the doctor had sent the referral in. And I think it was like 3 months after that, I had like the whole initial assessment and all that. But I can go through that in a whole other episode because there's a lot. It was like a long process. It was like a 2-year process that I went through because they don't just want you just to go and have the surgery and you're good. Like, I mean, you need to do the work. I had to unlearn everything that I thought I knew about food, about like self-control, about comfort and coping, all that stuff. I had to like face my habits, my shame, my emotional eating, and the fear of just being seen again. Like all that went into it. It's not just like, hey, have the surgery, you lose weight, good, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. It's not about that. It's literally about letting go of everything that was weighing me down emotionally. That, like, the biggest takeaway was an emotional and mental thing, not so much physical. Sure, yeah, I've lost 100 pounds, but I gained way more clarity, confidence, energy, persistence, a desire, like literally to live again, not just exist. Like, so much of my life now is way different than it was before. I just started feeling good again, feeling good in my body, mentally, emotionally. And when you're not in like this physical pain, you're not hiding, you're not constantly battling yourself, you're just finally having the energy to live your life, just to be the mom, the wife, the woman that you literally want to be. It changes literally everything. And that's exactly what it did for me. And for the first time in like a really, really long time, I felt like me again. Sometimes it's hard to put it into words, but I've been through a lot, and I don't share it all just to like tell you my story. I share it to show you what's possible when you just stop abandoning yourself and start coming home to who you really, really are. And I don't have all the answers. I am totally not perfect. I am still evolving day in and day out. And I know what it feels like, though, to be overwhelmed, ashamed, unsure, just to feel like you've lost pieces of yourself along the way, just to be everything for everyone else and still feel like something is missing, like inside. So I just wanted to share this today to let you know that I've come from really dark places too. And I've been through a lot, and I don't have all the answers, and I am still learning and growing each and every day. But this space is a place to share and just be me. Like, just be honest about what I've gone through, share the hard stuff, and not just like the highlight reel that everybody sees on social media. Like, this is like the messy, the growth, like, just this, just everything like put out there. And I'm just committed to showing up fully and honestly without any shame or any judgment or anything. Like, I just feel like if I can just help one woman know that she's not alone, that I see you, that I understand you, I've been through it. And if you just want just somebody just that you can maybe relate to, yeah, I just want to be that person for you. And I always leave my email in the description. So if you ever just need someone to talk to, or you just want someone to listen, or you just need to vent a little bit, feel free to reach out anytime. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I am literally just a regular mom, wife, daughter, a friend, just doing the best I can and learning how to show up for myself daily. Not perfectly, just honestly, just being in my truth, just being authentic. And that's what this space is all about. It's about being real with ourselves, just taking the pressure off, giving ourselves room to grow. And because you know what, healing does not happen overnight. It is like gonna take a lot of time, but the fact that you're here, you're listening, learning, reflecting, that means something. That means that we are all showing up for ourselves because we're doing the work, even if it doesn't feel like we are some days. And yeah, just know that you don't have to rush it. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep showing up day in and day out. That's it. So if you are in the middle of your own evolution, I just want you to know that I see you, I'm with you, and I promise you are not alone. So I know this episode was super deep and I shared a lot. It's probably one of the longest and more personal episodes that I've shared to date, but it is the 13th episode. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but I really just wanted to share a lot of the things that have really affected me in my life. But just to let you know that I've come out on the other side of those things, and I definitely don't let them define who I am as a woman today. I have a voice, I'm speaking my voice, I'm taking control of the power that I do have within. I don't look for outside validation anymore. I'm centered. I feel like I am in a really, really, really good place in my life. And that's not to brag or say anything. That's just to say that you can get to a place where you just feel balanced. And that's exactly what I feel. And I want you to get to that place too if you're not there yet. So let's just wrap up today's episode. If this episode did resonate with you in any way, I would definitely love to hear from you. Yeah, and if you know someone that you care about that maybe needs to hear what we talked about today, feel free to share it with them. Yeah. And that's it. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being here, and thank you for showing up for me and showing up for you. And yeah, we're in this together. So until next time, my fellow evolvers, just keep evolving, keep glowing, and never stop showing up for yourself because you matter. Much love.